Hello everybody, welcome back to the Soul Light Radio. Today is Tuesday, July the 31st. I'm your host, John Glover. Today's news is as follows. We have a gentleman under the name of General Keith Alexander, who's the NSA boss in the United States of America, and he's wanting something called an Easy Pass, which is an RFID control system for the internet. RFID referring to radio control. Basically what this is about, guys, is you're going to have a black box attached to your modem, or more often than not built in. It's going to monitor your internet usage, your tweets, your Facebook comments, and if any that criticises your government or the control systems which are in place within whichever particular area of the FEMA controlled world or the UN controlled world that we're in, they will shut you down. Basically, on top of that, they're probably going to start wanting you to buy a pass of some sort, or a certificate, or a ticket, should we say, where you're going to have to use this to get onto the internet. And good little boys and girls who do what the masters and the controllers say will be allowed to tweet and Facebook. The rest of us, well, we won't be on it, basically. This is one way of closing down the alternative media. So that basically at the moment, whether you look at the shootings in Aurora, whether you look at 9/11, whether you look at any truth movement at all, any false flag event these days is being closed down rapidly, and the elites don't want that. They don't want the Serbs knowing what the masters are doing. Other news: haven't seen the evidence. I don't touch fizzy drinks anymore. Frankly, they are evil. This is a comment that comes from a Dr. Hans Peter Kubis. He's a biological scientist. And basically, he's done a study into fizzy drinks. Now, what he's found is quite astonishing, the fact that these things actually are causing all sorts of health problems. No surprise to us in the truth movement, but for people out there who are waking up at the moment, it could be quite an eye-opener. The doctor suggests that fizzy drinks appear to increase the risk of heart disease, liver failure, and hypertension. And 4 cans of fizzy drinks a day increase the risk of tooth erosion by 252%, which is why dentists drive around in Porsche and Mercedes cars. It's all tied in, guys. The US and China prepare for massive civilian population relocation. Now, this is something I covered a while back in a talk. Basically, the image to the bottom right is cities that they built in the middle of China. Huge, massive apartment blocks, flats, similar to something out of 2018. And again, I'm showing my age there, but the mega city blocks, yeah. And basically, that's what it's about, and it's just mass housing. Now, these places have got full air conditioning, they've got water, they've got electricity, and all that's provided, but they're nowhere near the coast. When the Chinese government were asked about this by the Western media, they actually come clean, because the thing is, folks, the Chinese don't pretend or really lie about anything. What they do is they've got human rights atrocities going on all the time. They just say, yeah, we have. It's only actually while you're in China that they take the news and so on and so forth, because a friend of mine actually taught English up there, and basically they only ever report on positive things. They don't talk about murders, paedophilia, they don't talk about any of that, and the human rights atrocities just simply aren't portrayed on the media there. And this is the model that the UN and the globalists and the Illuminati and controlling families want for the West, where all news and all media is controlled. And they've bought most of the major media now. BBC, ITV, they're all bought off by banking clan investments and bribes. So, you know, we do live in a bought democracy. The other side of the coin is the American troops, which are now preparing for a massive civilian population relocation, as stated, And this story comes out of Kerry Cassidy's blog from the Project Camelot website. I'll just quote from her blog. It says, I received the following for a concerned citizen regarding preparations the army is making and the new soccer fields being created. Now, just to bring you up to speed on the soccer fields issue, a while back I reported on a situation that was taking place and was being reported through the Alex Jones website, which is infowars.com, and I recommend everybody go over and take a look at that and see what is happening under the guise of peace in America, where they're trying to get the guns off the citizens. But then again, this ties in with this story. Effectively, the soccer fields aren't exactly soccer fields. What they are, the sunken pitches, and around them is barbed wire fencing and what appears to be gun towers. To me, to all intents and purposes, it looks like a prisoner of war camp. Basically, if you're going to have displaced civilian population, you need a place to put them. It gets a little bit more serious than that when you find out that Jesse Ventura's show, if you remember that, where Jesse Ventura did the talk on his show regarding the FEMA camps, where they went to a FEMA camp, now they're known as leisure camps, believe it or not. And basically, this place was razor wide up, gun towered up, and basically everything else. It was a lock in. When he questioned that, he said, "Oh, basically, it's just for people to come and spend leisure time." And basically, that's the old thing of, when we say black is white, that's the government line. If you feed people enough BS, then they're going to swallow it and actually repeat it. This is a model of psychology. If you repeat something enough, people are just going to buy into it. So, without further ado, we'll get on to what's actually taking place regarding the training of the military. This citizen that's actually wrote into Kerry Cassidy has stated here, as both the Canary evacuation process and the military food packing process at Cheyenne Mountain in Denver get rolling along, I just thought I'd drop you a little line to let you know what the US Army's Civil Affairs in brackets Special Operations units have been training on since March of this year, 2012. They are training on locating and relocating displaced citizens. There's a write-up on this in this month's issue of Warrior Citizen, which, guys, is an American publication. It's the official magazine of the US Army Reserve, what they call the Reserve, we call RTA. They make no attempt to hide what is going on, what they're doing now. The write-up on the 450th Civil Affairs Battalion based out of Virginia is what's basically, this is what they're saying these guys are training for. So the 450th from out of Virginia are actually, this is where the information's come from. I'm sure this is an MOS-wide, which basically is the military service as a whole. This training is actually perpetuated throughout the entire service in the States. Anyone who's paying close attention can easily start putting the pieces together. That's not the entire article, guys. I invite you to go over to the Project Camelot website, access Kerry Cassidy's blog, and it was, as of today, the top hit on the blog topics. Basically, what's going down in Cheyenne Mountain as well, if you remember not so long ago, they had the Colorado fires, Colorado Springs. Basically, that was a diversionary tactic so they could move alien tech transdimensionally, apparently, if reports are to be believed, into the secret bases around Denver. And if you've watched the shows I've done on the Denver airport with the high Masonic imagery there, the 33 Masonry symbols and so on and so forth, it all ties in. So basically that's what's happening. As regards the evacuations and what is taking place within the Canary Islands, this is due to the uptick in the volcanic activity, which we discussed yesterday on the show, which was in regards the caldera in Yellowstone Park actually showing signs of subterranean heat build-up, which again ties in with what's happening within Yellowstone and how the governments are desperately trying to jump the gun with the timescale of what's happening with the air changes on our planet at this moment. Regarding air changes, I thought it would be a good time to do a channel and news section. I'll do this probably once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks, bi-monthly, simply due to the fact that the channel and news seems to be tying in very, very heavily with what we're seeing in the alternative media at the moment. Just to give people out there who may not understand what channeling's about, it's an event where an ET or an extra-dimensional entity will enter and channel their consciousness into a human vessel. Effectively, it's a positive possession. And what will take place then is the entity will convey information from the ether, from what's taking place within the realms of the ETs or the extra-dimensional beings that are actually interacting with our planet at this time. So we've got a gentleman called Mike, he actually, pardon me, he actually channels an entity called Salu Sa, and we also have a gentleman called Sheldon Nidal who actually interacts and channels entities from the Galactic Federation of Light. Again, to give people a heads up on the Galactic Federation of Light, it's a body of entities who are all based within the realms of love, peace and understanding, and are here at this moment allegedly helping the human race raise the consciousness and vibration levels of the planet so the planet can ascend as well as the people of the planet. If you wanted my opinion on this, I'm strictly 50-50 on it, but what I will say to you is that the channel news for over the last 12 months, although I don't use it generally as a point of reference, I've listened to it and it usually burns it at about 65 to 70% correct most of the time. So I think with it being over the 50% mark, everything at this time as we move towards this new epoch and energetic change that we all seem to be feeling at this time, would be interesting to go over what's being said. So basically what Salusar is saying is that the ETs have run out of patience with the governments of the planet, and they are now going to be showing themselves quite readily in our skies, leading and culminating in their mass landing possibly as early as the 4th of August 2012. It's simply due to the fact that these entities supposedly have given our governments across the world time and time to come out and disclose the information that they exist, that we are genetically related to them, and the fact they could even be the creators of mankind. And the governments are staying within their paradigm, excuse me, don't give us enough credit for actually dealing with this stuff and don't think we can handle it. Hence the Brookings report, which said the people of the earth can't know the truth because our religious system would break down and everything else would break down. But frankly, guys, if you want my personal opinion, my penny's worth is let the religious system break down, let everything break down, because it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And when you've got priests who are supposedly, in the job of promoting the words of Jesus, I didn't hear Jesus saying to priests you can have sexual intercourse with young children. But generally speaking, you've got a lot of paedophilia that goes on within the church and with everything else. I'm not going to attack the church. I'm just saying the fundamental principles of the church are fantastic. Treat others unsuit like you'd be treated yourself, eye for an eye, all that. But basically, guys, it doesn't work. The system's failed, and we're growing out of our infancy, I think, and we're now starting to question and ask, is there nothing more than that? And I think spirituality is a very good replacement for, at sometimes, a brutal religion. So, moving on to Sheldon Idle, we have the Galactic Federation of Light. They're basically talking about the impending financial collapse of the planet, which we've seen, and we've also got a lot of stuff from Sheldon Idle regarding what Salusar is also saying about the time's up, basically. Jig's up for the globalists. They know the time's up. That's why they're mobilising the American military and militia to actually contain the American people, because, one, there's a chance of a cataclysm. With that taking place, you would have displaced citizenry, which is what Project Camelot suggests, and then you would need some form of law enforcement, whether it be military or otherwise, to, one, calm the people, and two, keep them safe from themselves. This also may tie in with the fact that they're trying to take the guns from the American people at the moment as well. So it's all very interesting what's going on with the Second Amendment as well as this and that. Now, yesterday, if you remember, guys, I reported on that UFO being sighted over the Olympic Village. Now, this thing is quite big news. The fact that the BBC own the rights to that stuff and haven't even bothered reporting on it since says that it's real. If it was a hoax, or they could prove it was a bit of smoke, or it was a bird flying past or whatever, they would have had it, they would have dissected it, and it'd be all over the news, including Newsround. They'd have put it out on every media they can possibly get it on, because they would like everyone to think it's all a pile of baloney. So they haven't done that. Not only that, but that imagery's now been put through multispectral analysis, infrared, a lot, and it's been deemed as aesthetically viable. So we'll see in time. But what I have noticed as well amongst the circle that I certainly revolve around, basically what we have is a lot of people at the minute are feeling that we are on the cusp of something, and it can manifest itself within your daily life as like an anticipation for something. For example, like your Christmas, waiting to get your presents at Christmas Day when you're a child, stuff like that, like an unhinged excitement. Yeah, and basically a lot of people who are a lot more sensitive to earth changes and sensitive to change, ethereally, having this uneasy feeling at the minute, but not uneasy in a bad way. I don't mean to say it's a bad thing. What I mean is, it's do you ever have one of them times where you go out on the lash and you've had a few drinks, and the next day you wake up and you know you've done something, but you don't quite know what, and then someone tells you fell on your backside in the middle of the dance floor and it all comes flooding back. It's a bit like that. It's the uncertainty. You know something's not quite right, but you can't put your finger on it, and that's across the board, really, at the moment. With anyone who seems just a little bit sensitive to these things, or intuitively is feeling there's a change coming. So that wraps up the show for today, guys. Thank you very, very much for your attention and your time. I realise time is a formidable thing at the moment with life and the pace of life that we lead these days. I just think it'd be nice if we just got back to a bit of peace and love, and we all just started respecting each other. I think it's a good message to put out there, and I think, as long as we all try and push for that, and who knows, maybe we can get there one day. But for right now, any comments about the show at all, any criticisms, any praise, any ideas for how the show could move forward, we are always trying to push forward with the show. We're always trying to look at ways of getting the information out there better. We're going to try and keep the shows down to about 15 minutes. Sometimes they will go over because I rant a lot, unfortunately. But this is how things are going. So any suggestions, guys, it's soul-life@hotmail.co.uk, which you can see on your screens at the moment. To access any talks and any of the other news feeds that we've done. Remember, guys, now we are just YouTube singly. We don't do Ustream anymore due to the technical hiccups that I was having. I couldn't have produced the stuff in HD through Ustream unless I'd have paid an extraordinary amount of money for the pro version of it, which I'm not going to do, because at the Booth of Truth here, where we try and get the truth out to you guys every single day, apart from weekends, obviously, we just, the funds aren't there, guys. Simply, that's as basic as it is. So it has to be done on the shoestring, and I hope that the new format suits, and you guys out there are actually quite enjoying what we're trying to do. As I say, though, any comments and anything, you can reach us at the Soul Light email page there, and then we can move on from there. Again, thanks very much for your time, and the only thing that remains to say is to namaste to everybody, and have the best of evenings. Thank you very much.